good. All right. We were going to do this from the top of the St. Louis Arch with a Kentucky win, but instead you get the backside of this ugly beige Enterprise Center backdrop, because Kentucky season's over, and that sucks. It's a sad day. It's always a sad day. It's an especially sad day when a season that, so much talk about the story and things still be, unwritten, and we can control our no matter how ugly things were at the beginning, we can control our destiny down the end. And then, Tyler, it just became exactly what we thought it was. The team that hovered between 25 and 35 all season long ended up being knocked out in the round of 32. Exactly what one would expect.
Yeah, it's just sad because it's actually pretty fitting given how the season has gone. You had the amazing, thrilling high of Ortega-Oweh's miracle shot to force overtime versus Santa Clara, and I would argue just as big of a low today in that second half versus Iowa State. Kentucky got off to such a good start, and it seemed like everything was going so great, and then they took out Denzel Aberdeen, and Jasper Johnson came in, and Iowa State went on a 9-0 run. And even though Kentucky would go up again, I think by 5 before halftime, it never felt like the Cats were in control the rest of the game. And that second half, we've seen some depressing Kentucky basketball performances, especially halves this season. That is up there because it just felt like Iowa State was in a different class than Kentucky in that second half. It was just you almost just wanted it to end so you didn't have to watch it anymore. It was that hard to watch. And I hate that. That's how it's ended.
Clearly we just picked the worst possible spot for
right?
this, but what the hell? What difference does it make? Steven, man, it sucks to feel this way because, I remember leaving the Oakland one, and it's just this grandiose take of this is totally unacceptable, change is necessary. And I remember last season, just this heartbreak that we felt after that Tennessee, where yes, the score was humiliating, the performance stunk, but you were like, man, we're saying goodbye to some all-time Wildcats, guys that we will love and appreciate forever. Yeah. Guys that were sobbing in the locker room afterward, just a heartbreak. I felt sick leaving that one. This one's just like,
you're talking about the Oakland one or the Tennessee one last year?
Tennessee last year of, Ainsley Almanor sobbing, Kobe Brea saying it's going to take a lot to take this jersey off me. To go from that to just how we feel after this one, where it's just like, yep, exactly what we thought. This team is exactly lost in the exact way that we thought this was going to unfold.
I hope I'm not out of line by saying this, but Malachi had tears in his eyes. Yep. Nobody else did. Did you see anybody else? Did it seem just so who cares, kind of? I'm not saying they don't care. I'm not saying that. They obviously do. But if they were upset, they were able to hide it really well. And I feel like last year they weren't able to hide it very well because it mattered to them. They didn't want it to end. They did not want their season to end. Lamont Butler is crying walking off the court. Mark Pope's holding on to him. Amari Williams is crying on the bench. I realized, too, I'm not trying to make a mountain out of a molehill here and just trying to figure out. It was, 15 minutes after the game that we got to go in the locker room. Yep. So there's a little bit of time there to process it. But as you mentioned, the guys last year, man, it was crushing. I was in there as Kobe was talking about not wanting to take that jersey off. And, I was getting choked up, and that was such a – it's like you lost a game in November, It was
it had that vibe,
we'll get it next time, And that's just – but I'll be honest with you, that's exactly how I felt. I wasn't in there man, I can't believe the season's over. I felt like they were all just look, we're done with it. This is – we didn't want to lose, but now that it's happened, we'll worry about this later.
I thought it was fascinating, Tyler, that we met a buddy that works at ESPN that hasn't watched Cats all season long. He's a football NFL reporter. This is brand new for him, but he got called to St. Louis to cover this team for the very first time. Has never watched a minute of Kentucky basketball this season. And his weekend-long takeaway of this group specifically was, this kind of come across as uninspired. And I was like, man, isn't it just kind of sad that somebody who walked in on day one that hasn't gone through all of the stuff that we have from day one with this group kind of had the same big picture takeaway that we have from November?
Yeah, I think that's fair. And again, we're not questioning whether or not the players care. Of course they care. You know, they're competitors. Owe was, you know, you could tell up there on the podium, he and Aberdeen were legitimately sad that their time at Kentucky and their time in college basketball is over. But it just feels like so many things have had to go right for Kentucky to play well this season. You would have to have Owe, Denzel Aberdeen, and Colin Chandler, all three playing well for Kentucky to look good. That didn't happen today. Aberdeen was great. He had 20. Owe struggled a bit, but he still put up 18 because he's Owe. Colin Chandler had 6 points, and they were off 2 threes that he hit in the first 5 minutes of the game. Nothing after that. So 2 heads of the 3-headed goat were playing well. The other was not. Nobody else really stepped up. There was no unlikely hero. It just felt like in the second half you could see the realization on the players' faces. And it's not that they rolled over or anything like that. It was just like, okay, well, this is how it's going again. Another high followed by another low, and then that's it. I just hate that it's ending with the whimper.
Yeah, I think that's the best way to put it. 1972, worst NCAA tournament loss, and also the most turnovers since 1993. You're a big numbers guy. The numerology this season has not gone as planned. Anything about those two numbers that
7 plus 2 equals 9?
Oh,
72.
There we go. That's true.
There's number 9.
Yeah. No, big numbers guy. Let's see. It was what did it end on? Like a 73 to 43?
73 to 43, 30-point gap in the last 29 minutes.
After Kentucky was up 20-9. That's. I mean, if you imagine if the game started that way, just like what we would have thought. Yeah, I mean, I'm not even. I don't know, man. I'm just not even upset about this. We've done these. You remember what I looked like after the Oakland game? Like I was just
seething.
So mad and sad, and I'm just not feeling those emotions right now. So that should probably tell you a little bit about the state of Kentucky basketball. We are on the worst 6-year stretch of Kentucky basketball. We are on the longest route without an Elite Eight. The school with the most Elite Eights in all of college basketball history by a pretty decent margin has not played in one in 7 years. We have won Sweet 16 since 2019. We have not won anything outside of Global Jam.
Shout out Global Jam.
We'll always
God,
have Global Jam.
I love that
always
event.
have that exhibition against Purdue earlier this year. I remember how.
About the BB and United tip-off class presented by
Kentucky Tourism. That's true. It was a big thing to win there for the Cats. Yeah, I want to have like a better take than this, than just like, because it shouldn't be like that. I should be pissed off. Kentucky lost in the round of 32. I should be mad about it. This was a team that we thought early on, the goal, the assignment was all going to be met. And I'm not holding hope to winning a national title, but we got to start winning stuff. Like Kentucky has to start winning championships again. And you're going to we're going to be 7 years in to the 2020s. We got to win something next year. We're going to go 7 years, really, and not win anything. And I don't even know who to blame at this point. Everybody that started this streak is going to be gone, by the start of next season. So, this is big. This is a huge offseason, not just for Mark Pope and keeping his job, but for the entire, future of this program and trying to transition into this nil era, which has just not gone well. And the Wilson Evo Next era, might as well mention that too. Kentucky's only won 3 NCAA tournament games or 4 NCAA tournament games in the Wilson Evo era. So 3 wins shy of a banner again this season. It is what it is.
Tyler, I think one of the bigger talking points for the game specifically, Tamim Lipsey comes in, has never. This is a career day for him. 26 points, 10 assists, 5 steals. Absolute, just unbelievable game-wrecking performance at the point guard position. But it was just kind of ironic that Joshua Jefferson, it was all about just his absence and how, it's going to be really hard to make up the star power with, losing your best player, an All-American. It's impossible to replace an All-American. Well, their starting point guard just kind of did it, walked in and did it without much pushback whatsoever. He was a terror defensively, 5 steals himself out of the 20 overall. That was just a disaster. But Milan Momcilovic, you kind of have the mindset of if you can, they were a two-headed monster between Momcilovic and Jefferson. without Jefferson, you kind of think on paper you should be able to go put all your attention on Momcilovic, but he still goes for more than his season average, 20 points on efficient shooting, I think 50, 44, 80 shooting split. So, man, it just that part, I think, does it add to how deflating this loss was, knowing that they did it without their best player?
Oh, sure, because I don't want to say the bracket opened up for Kentucky at all, because it didn't. Jefferson was a huge, huge part, but it was there for the taking, it felt like, especially after that hot start. It looks...
No way that's real, though, right?
What? Oh, we have a super chat from... Should I read that? I mean, everybody can see it.
Yeah, they can see it. So.
Okay, shout out to Princess Calipari for the $9.99 super chat.
$9.99. Hey,
all the nines.
Nines.
She says, I was busy planning for the Sweet 16 in California and missed the game. How much did Kentucky win by?
Trolls.
Yeah, great.
Thanks for the money, though.
Yeah, that was fun. We'll use that $10 for gas on the way home. But but yeah, I mean, I think it is interesting. How many points did Lipsy have?
26.
And he's a starting point guard. It's not like he's coming out of nowhere. But for someone to have their best game against Kentucky just kind of feels appropriate given what we've seen this year in the past couple of years. And also, the fact that he stepped up and when his team needed him the most, outside of Aberdeen and Owe, nobody did that for Kentucky today. It was just a struggle on every single account, and 20 turnovers. 20 turnovers, the most since 1993, I think, for Kentucky.
Yep. Mo Diabate, I forgot about this. Mo Diabate said in his post-game interview that the goal was to have under 11 for the entire game, and they had 12 at halftime.
Wow. That's
forgot about that.
That's not good. Yeah, it was just an ugly game. It felt like it happened so fast too. It was like a 5-7 point game. Kentucky's at the free throw line. Like it is slipping, but you're still right there. And then if you blinked, and it was this game is so over. And I was actually getting to talk with Brandon Ramsey during some of that stretch, so he had some choice words. He said he got so upset he had to just leave where the fans.
The old Matt Jones.
Yeah.
Man, Matt lasted longer than I thought he would. I was proud of him today.
He hung in there. He made it 25 game minutes. So he made it 5 minutes into the second half, and then was like, all right, I can't do it. And, but good for Matt for trying at least. And by that point, even though there were still 15 minutes left in the game, it felt like the writing was on the wall. I do think it's interesting you were talking about how the emotion in the locker room wasn't as heightened as years past. It kind of felt like that in the stands. It felt like there weren't a ton of Kentucky fans here. There was that one section that was across from their bench that was full, but outside of that...
Really? That's the family section.
Yeah, outside of that, it was mostly Iowa State fans. And even the fans that were there for Kentucky, they weren't even... I mean, they had a couple moments early on where they got loud, but that was it. Obviously, the team didn't give them a lot to get loud for. But I was watching their reactions, and it wasn't like they were just so incredibly depressed and upset. It was just very subdued. It was almost like, I don't want to say apathy because I don't think we're there yet, but it was just like, okay, well, that's probably what we thought was going to happen. We're not surprised. And that is so depressing. Like, I hate that we're at that point.
That's the worst part. Yeah,
it's the worst part. And we can get into it now, what it sets up for next year. I mean, next year is a make-or-break year for Mark Pope.
1,000%.
This offseason is pivotal. Kentucky has no 2026 recruits. I mean,
wow. All
right. Hi, Tyron Stokes. Give us some more super chats, and we'll maybe try to get him to Tyron Stokes to get to Kentucky. I did think it was interesting. Pope, in the press conference, he was asked about where he starts with the roster build for next year. He said it starts with retention. He mentioned a first-year center, a first-year power forward, so Malachi, Yelovich, and a sophomore two-guard. You can either read that as Cam Williams or Colin Chandler, or maybe both. So clearly he's starting there. I know you guys talked to people in the locker room, and they kind of shared some of their plans, or it's very early, but what did they say?
Yeah, it means typically nothing with the locker room conversations when you ask, because you have to ask, what's your plan? But you usually know that it doesn't really mean much. Last year, I think the only person who said definitively with confidence that he was returning to Kentucky was Travis Perry. And that did not happen. So, but of the group that we talked to, I think we got most of the guys. Andrea Yelovich, Brandon Garrison, and Cam Williams were the most definitive about their futures at Kentucky and saying, the plan is to be back. I want to be back. That would be my preference. Colin Chandler gave a total.
I thought we could get something more definitive out of him. Yeah. I mean, granted, what he said, Travis Perry said last year. What did he?
But usually, Colin, I thought Colin would give an answer obviously, if everything works out the way it's supposed to, yes, I would obviously love to be at Kentucky. But when even the possibility of hey, what are you planning on doing? It was just I don't want to talk about that right now. There's still way too much to play out. We'll see what happens. It was kind of that's interesting.
Well, you mentioned Malachi, and I mean, his answer was, we're going to talk with my family and see, where we're going, where
including the draft process, so that was still something to
I mean,
consider.
Like you said, a lot of this stuff doesn't They just lost the last game of the season. Yeah. Emotions are I don't know. Emotions are what they were, and there's a lot, of course, that you can't hold them to a decision or anything right now. But I was a little surprised that some of them were just. Yeah, I mean, whatever. We'll see what happens. Mo
Diabate gave, I think, the most fascinating answer out of all of them, where he said, there's a lot going on in my head. There's going to be a lot that plays into my decision and all those things. Similar, on the same page with a lot of the other teammates that he had. But talked about just this experience was everything that he wanted it to be. He said, it's the best year of college of my entire life. He brought up money. He was the money, the attention, the media, the private jets. He was this has been the best season of my college basketball career, and I kind of appreciated the transparency, honestly.
Yeah, no, he said that he liked all the attention the media gave, and just things I had people who I grew up with that would love this sort of attention. So I'm definitely taking it all in. So I thought that was a good answer. And
gear, he said he appreciated that Kentucky gives more gear than anybody else.
He did give a good little sales pitch as to why you should go play for Kentucky. And Mo had a good tournament. I don't know. I did feel bad for Malachi in there, though. I mean, not just because he seemed to be the one who was kind of emotional, but he kind of took the brunt of this stuff on social media, which totally undeserved considering the season that he had. I don't get that. And maybe, I don't know. I think everybody, and when you're doing when you're online and you're a fan, you say things that maybe you wish you could take back. I'm sure there's a lot of that throughout the year. And I don't know. I did hate reading some of the stuff about Malachi because, honestly, if Malachi was not as good as let me be real. I didn't think Malachi was going to be very good at all as a freshman, honestly. And he totally blew away my expectations. And could you imagine if he was kind of what everybody thought he was going to be, just a role player who could fill in for BG and for JQ? If they don't have Malachi, I mean, this season could have been terrible. So, I mean, he kind of rescued Kentucky, from what that position would have been like. And I'm saying that as Brandon Garrison probably played some of the best 5 games that he's played this season in the postseason. So,
but the thing about Malachi is what screwed him over the most with all of this is he played so well early on, and he just happened to have the worst stretch of his debut season at the very end. So it's what have you done for me lately? The fan base has completely forgotten why everybody was saying, why is he not starting for Kentucky 4 games in? Yeah. There was a whole thing about Malachi being deserving of the role and holding on to it all the way through the end, and then it's only been this last SEC tournament on with BG playing as well as he has that has led to Malachi sucks. He's this, he's that. It's not fair. It's not fair in the slightest. And I hope that Mark Pope is, when talking about there's a first-year center that we need to get back, that, yes, Malachi, there's so much room for growth. He was thrown into a situation and a role that was totally above what he was thought to be and what was expected of him. And think about how one off season of strength and conditioning and working on just strengthening his hands and forearms and that one thing. If we can just get his hands figured out, he'd be an all SEC talent. He has the body and the feel and the assists and all that. So
he's still on draft boards, right?
He's a 19-year-old, man. Yeah. Let's just hit pause. Let's know that the retention is real, growth is real, development is real, and yes, if a lot of these guys want to come back, I am all the way for it. But Tyler, this roster needs talent upgrade. It absolutely needs to find. You don't need an Ortega replacement just in general, but it's as we saw, you can't just find one Ortega replacement and say, well, there you go, because then you're back at the round of 32. You need to find multiple dudes, whether it's in the portal or international or wherever the hell you find it.
Yeah, I mean, I think you could see, I feel like Iowa State had 2 or 3 really, really good guys, and it showed. And sure, Owe and Aberdeen are great, but they're gone. They are no longer on this team. So whether it's Tyron Stokes, taking a gamble on that, throw whatever you have at them, going after the best pieces in the portal. But please get guys who can play Mark Pope's system.
Yeah.
Like, I think today was another example of how poorly constructed this roster was, not only maybe in terms of allocation of resources, but just they don't play his system that well. He overcorrected too much towards physicality to try and keep up in the SEC at the expense of shooting. You know, when you get down by that much and you can't make stops and you can't shoot your way out of it, it was just so hard to watch at times. And it's not the first time we've said that this season. We've said it a lot, but it will be the last time we say it. So.
And you knew it would happen, and we'll wrap up with this. Yeah. You knew it would happen, that the pivot to as soon as we have the guys that we need, we have the pieces to make the run, we like our group. When Jalen Lowe went down with his first injury and Pope was asked, hey, do you want to bring in a guy at the break and, add more depth because you guys have taken some hits and, all that? He said, no, I like the guys we got. I like the guys that we got. As soon as the season ends, we go back to the injuries. We go back to we didn't have our whole group and the vision that we had for this roster didn't end up being that. So what can you do? Well, we also, again, we've had this conversation. We have to remember that Jalen Lowe wasn't the first point guard option. Some of the guys that Pope went after, Jaden Quaintance, the only reason why he was signed is because you missed on Caleb Wilson. You missed on some of the other superstars, and then you had to kind of take the risks with a JQ and all that. So, we can't do revisionist history with this group. This was a poor coaching job. It was a poor roster management season. This was not a group that was ever going to win a championship. We bought too much into the Mark Pope system that, this guy shot 26% from 3 last year, but in a better system with better shots, he's going to be 40%. He doesn't have a magic wand, as one former friend would once say. This is a look at yourself in the mirror. This is a look at yourself in the mirror off season for Mark Pope that begins right now. He should be hitting the phones. This tonight needs to be we got a lot of work to do. Let's hit the ground running, and hopefully that includes a GM or whatever role and title he wants to give it. Needs support staff help. I'm expecting some coaching staff turnover. I think that's something that I would keep a very close eye on as well. But I think there are a lot of faces in that building that are there right now are no longer going to be there next season, and it starts right now. News is going to start breaking here any day now, and we'll see what happens.
Started signing players around the Sweet 16 last year. I think Cam Williams.
Portal does not open until after the Final Four, so it'll be just a little bit delayed. But
communications happening though.
Absolutely. So follow us along for the journey. That Kentucky basketball never starts for us here. It never ends for us here. It goes right into recruiting and portal and all that stuff. So follow along right here on the KSR YouTube channel. Subscribe, do all those things. Go subscribe to KSR Plus, because now is when all of the portal intel and all that stuff is going to start popping off. So go follow us along over there. And thanks for following along all season. It's not been the ride any of us wanted, but we appreciate you being there nevertheless. So for Jack, for Tyler, and for Stephen Peake, thanks for a heck of a season. Go Cats.